green light. Go, go, go.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Number of years ago, the directors of ACC Race Nation decided to break away from a established racing championship esports division to set up something much more focused on GT3 racing in the realms of Assetto Corsa. And a number of years of trials and tribulations have brought wonderful success. ACC Race Nation has developed and improved and gone under several revisions to get to where we are today. 27 drivers in for tonight's first round of the season here for season 12. I'm Jack Millington, your commentator, as always, for the championship. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be back commentating on this wonderful series, and we have got a stacked grid. We are into qualifying at the moment. 20 minutes, of course, for just a reminder for those that have forgotten. 20 minutes for this session. We are just coming up to 3 minutes down. We are following right now the reigning champion from season 11, Mark Chapman, who added another title to his overall successes within the league. Just pitting, or rather I should say pipping, Jeffrey Van Buren to the post to stop him from taking his first crown at the Nürburgring Nordschleife last season. But it's a new year, of course, a full season in 2026, and we've got a lot to cover in the next 16 and 33 seconds. 16 minutes, 30 seconds. Let's round it down just a little bit for everyone. We'll go through the field. We'll scroll through everybody, give you a little bit of a background on a number of the drivers, a couple of new debutants as well, which is a pleasure to see. I'm sure the drivers are looking forward to seeing that. A couple of returners though. First of all, Hartle Toby. He's moved on from the Ford Mustang. He is in the Audi R8 and is the first driver to set a lap time this season on a 47.745 here at the Temple of Speed in Monza. Howard Dunn just goes across the line in the AMR V8. He has updated his livery for this championship, and it's really good to see back in the championship season 8 champion Steve Hall in a updated aqua blue livery. Really nice number 5 livery there. Stuart Packham is also back, one of the championship protagonists last season. He's moved over to the Lamborghini. We'll see how he gets on in that car. One of the few drivers in the Huracan this season. Dennis Penders, of course, top 3 championship finisher last 2 seasons in a row. Keep out for him. He's running an updated red and white scheme. More lap times coming in from a number of drivers. One of our first debutants for the evening that we've got. I'll just pop over in a moment. There we go, if I can get that over. yeah, it just looks like it's disappeared from my timing tower, but I'll come back to that in just a moment. So we've got Biro in the number 96. First time I've seen him in the series, and a quite striking white and gold livery. He's 9th at the moment, yet to set a lap. Looks like he's just run a little bit too deep into the first chicane there. Jacob Byford-Rue has returned. He's in an Audi this time around, as is John Wells, the overall director within ACC Race Nation. Number 69 out on circuit once again. Really good to have him back competing. I know that he had a few issues towards the end of the championship last season, but he's now up there. Another driver who's new for the season, we've got Balaz Zordon. He is in the M4 GT3 in the 666 car just there. Joe Warner is also a returnee in the Mercedes AMG. He switched tack with a new car for the championship. Rich Jarram is also there too, and personal pleasure for me to finally commentate on him in GT3 cars. Michael Keating, Central Heating, in the 113 Lamborghini. He is making his first attempt of the championship here at ACC Race Nation. An underdog for sure, but I'm really excited to see how he gets on. We also have another debutant. We've got quite so many debutants this evening. We've got Laszlo as well in the number 8 in the McLaren, as is Phillips as well. We've got a few new drivers. I'll talk about those in a moment. Fielding 3 cars all in a row there, as Fielding actually fires himself up into the second row of the grid. Michael van der Waal, a returner, of course, still looking for that first victory. Could it come this season? He's certainly got the ability to do so. He's got an updated colour scheme on the car, has the 71. Rover Rakatamanga has returned as well, the number 14, still seeking that first podium in the championship. We've got Smith as well, Jordan Harding, Liam Watkinson, Tony Manley, all returners. Good to have them back, and Mr. Barlow as well. I'm assuming no relation to Gary. That is Tom, that is the number 11 in that car. But Hart Toby leading the way at the moment. Let's say they have a little look out on circuit, see who we can follow. Watkinson coming into the pits. There's John Wells in the Audi. There's Laszlo as well. It's really, really good to have him on board with us. And that is Mark Laszlo in the number 8. And we've got Phillips as well coming around the final corner. Let's see if we can get on board with a lap with the Canadian Matt Phillips. Let's go on board with the McLaren. So approaching then the first corner of the circuit, barreling down at full speed here at Monza. Got to watch out for this first corner of the Variante Rettifilo. Braking just at the 150 metre marker, down through the gears for him. Clips the apex quite nicely actually at turn 1 and through turn 2. Nice throttle application on the exit of the corner. So far, good start to the lap. Only 10 corners, technically 11 corners on this circuit. One of them is right here, Curva Grande at turn number 3. Completely flat in any weather condition. And then it's about spotting your braking zone at the 150 marker board for Della Roggia chicane. He's going to run a touch. He could have attacked the curb a little bit more on the first one, but a little wiggle on the exit. You can see why he was a bit more tentative. Into, arguably, one of the most famous double corners in the whole of motorsport. The 2 Lesmo corners here at Monza. Turn 6 and 7. A bit wide at the first one, but nicely nailed into turn number 7 for Matt. Solid lap so far. He's 4.5 tenths up on his lap time at the minute. And he's going to blast his way now down towards Ascari. Really tricky sequence of corners here. It can be very easy to unsteady the car. There's a relatively late turn in for the corner. He's going to lose a touch of time as Phillips, and you can see he was 4.5 tenths up. He's now 2.5. Lost 2 tenths as a result. Couple of flags that were flying by the side of the road there, but all is well. There's a yellow flag, but no harm for Phillips as he approaches the final corner. Just got to get down through the gears for Parabolica into the third gear right-hander. Nice line through there, and he's made up a lot of time actually out of that final corner. Let's see what he does. He's 16th at the minute. Will he improve that position? Yes, he pops himself up into 14th place. So not a bad effort at all from the debutant in season 12. Lots of traffic out on circuit at the minute. It's certainly going to be difficult for me to keep on top of. Simon Whiting is also back. Great to see him. It's been a while since we had Simon racing with us in ACC, but always one who is capable of winning a championship, but it's a case of, can he commit to a full season? That's the biggest roadblock, I would argue, that would stop his chances. But it'd be really good to see if he could. He's just gone back into the pits, and he's in the top 10 at the moment. Really competitive qualifying session already. We've got less than 10 minutes to go in qualifying, and I am at the moment just having a little scramble around for one of my pens, which I seem to have managed to lose. Jeffrey Van Buren, actually, 1 point to make there in the McLaren for this season. That'll be fascinating to see how he gets on. Jordan Harding in the NSX. Not something that we see very often, the Honda, in this series. It's been quite some time that I can recall when he drove, well, one, he's never driven that car, but two, when I've seen anybody drive that car in the championship. But he's 11th at the minute on a 48.6. Let's just do a quick recap of where the qualifying standings are with 9 minutes to go. Well, the debutant, Mr. Fielden, at the moment, top of the leaderboard. That is a cracking place for Will in the number 22. Will Fielden there on provisional pole. Harter Toby is second. Mark Chapman is third, the reigning champion, of course. Stuart Packham, who was in the mix for the championship towards the end of last season, he is in fourth. Then it's Balazs Zordon in fifth position currently. Biro is in sixth place. That's Bence Biro, the Hungarian driver in the number 96 Ferrari. Steve Hall is seventh, and Van Buren is eighth, within a second of pole. Then it's Howard Dunn and Simon Whiting who round out the top 10 drivers. Jordan Harding is on row 6 currently, with Danny Zoutenbayer in the series tonight. Danny Zoutenbayer, the season 10 champion. Good to have him back in the series. Also in a brand new car in the Mercedes AMG. His brother was supposed to race tonight. Unfortunately, family issues stopped him from doing so. But good to see Danny back in the championship. Rich Jarram is 13th. That's a really good effort actually from the AMR driver. He'll be quite pleased with that. He's moved on from the Lamborghini to the AMR V8. He's on row 7, just in front of Dennis Penders, who's all over the rear spoiler of Tony Manley. John Wells is 15th, with Matt Phillips in 16th position. Then it's Michael van der Wal, who is doing a relatively solid job at the moment in 17th, but certainly more speed to come from the 71 McLaren. Then it's Mark Laszlo in 18th place. Jacob Byford-Rue is in 19th position in his Audi R8. Mikey Keating currently rounds out the top 10 of the grid, and I say top 10 rows of the grid, in 20th place. Then it's Joe Warner in 21st. He's the last of the drivers to set a lap time. After that, you've got Kyle Smith, who is yet to go out on circuit with less than 7 minutes to go. Liam Watkinson, Tony Manley. Then it's not Gary Barlow's brother, it's Tom Barlow, and we've got just a new driver who's just popped into the series just at this moment, Alfie Pryor in the 296 GT3. There's 27 drivers in the lobby right now. There's so much for me to try and keep up on top of this evening. Do wish me the best of luck, because I'm going to certainly need it. Hello to Jacob Byford-Rue. Hope you're doing all right, mate. Good to see you in the chat there. Hello to Mikey as well. Great to see you, buddy. Looking forward to seeing how you get on. Just take it easy. That's the most important thing in this championship. Certainly, the race will not be won at turn 1 today. Of course, if anyone does believe that's the case, they are very quickly going to find themselves falling down out of championship contention. Well, race contention, really. I say championship contention almost as if we're partway through the season when I said that. But we have, of course, got 15 races to look forward to this season. And what you might be wondering is, where do we end up going? Are we going to have loads of breaks? Yes, we're going to have 2 breaks specifically as we follow Fielden, who's leading at the moment. We'll follow him from the external shots. But just to give you a heads up, this is the calendar for season number 12. Monza, obviously, we're here at the moment. Next week, the drivers will head over to Brands Hatch for round 2. Paul Ricard is round 3. with Barcelona being at round 4. Then round 5 is the first of the 2-hour events, and that is going to be at Spa-Francorchamps on the 11th of March. After that, we have a little season break, and then racing will resume on the 25th of March at the Hungaroring. Round 7 is at Zandvoort in the Netherlands on the 1st of April. April Fool's Day, hopefully no fools that one. Then you've got Red Bull Ring on the 8th of April. Round 9 is at Misano, and then round 10 is Silverstone, which is another 2-hour event as Stuart Packham flies over the curb at De La Roja, and he's probably going to go back to the pits with that effort. But I don't know if Winter Olympics are doing the high jump, but that's a very good effort from him. But yes, round 10, Silverstone for the 2 hours. Then we'll have another season break for a week, and then the final stretch of the campaign sees us go into May, with Suzuka being round 11, Bathurst being round 12, Kyalami is round 13, Laguna Seca is the penultimate event on the 27th of May, and the last round of the calendar takes us all the way into June at the Nürburgring Nordschleife for the traditional season finale at the Green Hell. What a calendar that is. What a championship we're going to have here at ACC Race Nation. If you're interested in getting involved, you can do, of course. It doesn't take much to do so. You can sign up via Zimgrid, get involved with the gents who organise the championship via Discord as well. I will be streaming quite a number of races this season, a little bit more regular than season 11. I'm really excited about that. And that's going to be effectively the first opening 4 races of the championship. I'll be covering those. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody does with less than 3 minutes remaining. Crikey, how quickly it has all turned around. It's a lot to try and cover, but we will get through it as best as we can. Whew, take a deep breath for myself there. Now, one thing I will say before we go into the race is that this is the first and only time in the season where there will be no ballast applied to any of the drivers, because of course ballast results in the top 3 drivers who finish a race, and that ballast gets applied in the next round. So for those that are unaware, first place will get 30 kilos of ballast for the next round, second place will get 20 kilos, and third place will get 15 kilos. That's how the ballast system works out. If you finish 4th all the time, you'll never have to have any ballast. But of course, you don't want to finish 4th in this championship. You want to do as best as you possibly can. As we follow Jordan Harding, the lights flashing as he goes past there. I wonder if he's flashing them for the cameras from Race Director. There's Joe Warner in 21st place, going down into the last 2 minutes of qualifying. So drivers will be approaching their final laps of the session, as Danny Zoutenbayer as well in 8th place. I'm really fascinated to see how Danny gets on into the Mercedes. I've only ever known him to drive the Ferrari, so this is quite a big shift for him. The Mercedes is very well suited to this circuit as well, so it is an apt choice for the season 10 champion. Packham's in the pitch. He's not going to improve any further. He's staying there. He hasn't got enough time to get back out, nor has Biro for that matter. Mikey Keaton running in 23rd at the minute. It's a solid effort from Mikey. But he's still got this last lap to try and improve on. Rakatamanga in the pits. Let's go back to the internal camera. Well, I say internal camera. Garage camera, I'm going to call it, as Hartle Toby thunders his way towards the final corner of turn 11 at Parabolica. It's also known as Curva Alboreto as well, after the famous Ferrari driver Michele of the 1980s. One of the drivers actually who is kind of underrated in world history, but is very much celebrated in amongst the Tifosi, because Hartle Toby's getting the celebrations right now. He's just gone 0.02 of a second quicker than Will Fielding. So what an effort that is from the Audi driver. We now wait to see what the response is from everyone else. I think Jordan Harding is going to be the first driver to see the checkered flag. We'll have to wait and see on this, but it is going to be very close. I think that's Dan Hatton in the comments there. Looking forward to a good race. Wish you were here, Dan. That's where you should be. But Harding rounding the final corner. This is going to be a race to the flag. Whether he gets there in time, it's going to be exceptionally close. But he does get across. And he will be able to do another lap. But he's 15th at the moment. Everyone in the top 3 is in the pit. So that is not going to change from henceforth. But Rich Jarram, currently inside the top 10. This is a fab effort from him. Can he improve? Can he get past Danny Zoutenbayer? That would be some story. Not quite, but that's a great effort. Wonderful job from Jarram to get inside the top 10. Mikey Keaton, next driver coming up. Out of the final corner. 4 tenths to try and find on Byford Rue. Can he find that time in the Lamborghini? Across the line he goes. No improvement for Mike in the end. So he will stay where he is. Joe Warner in the Mercedes. Can he get below 3 seconds? Not quite, but that's still a really solid effort. A couple of other cars just coming across the line. Zorden goes across 2. John Wells is going to be the next one. He's in 18th in the Audi. Lots of drivers in the Audi this season. And he pops himself in front of Dennis Penders. That's encouraging. Laszlo comes towards the line now. No improvement from him. Chapman, the reigning champion's in the pit, so he's not going to improve. So we then look towards the last 2 cars that are out there. One of them is Steve Hall, and he's got someone else just behind him, and that is Byford Rue in the number 7. So we'll just keep an eye and see if Hull's going to improve. No, he's going to stay where he is, and that's it. Byford Rue's not going to improve. So by 2 thousandths of a second, your pole sitter is going to be Hartle Toby. What an effort that is to nick in at the end. Fielding will be very encouraged by that on his debut in the championship. The number 22 is on the 2nd place on the start grid. Packham and Chapman are on row 2, which will be a very familiar sight for those guys. Ballas Zorden is in 5th position on row 3. Alongside him, Rover Rakatamanga, another really solid qualifying from the Lamborghini driver. Then on row number 4, we've got Mr. Biro himself. That's Bentz, the Hungarian. He is going to be quite pleased with that effort. That's not a bad time to get on the board. Then you've got Danny Zoutenbayer in the 101. It's Rich Jarram, a great qualifying from him. That's the highlight for me, in 9th place with Howard Dunn in 10th. Then it's Laszlo and Steve Hall on row 6 with Jeffrey Van Buren and Simon Whiting on row 7. Jordan Harden and Michael van der Waal are on row number 8 with John Wells and Dennis Penders on row 9. Matt Phillips and Tom Barlow round out the top 20. Joe Warner and Jacob Byford Rue are 21st and 22nd, and that is as far as I can go on the timing tower. A bunch of other drivers below that. We will come back to those when we get there. I'm going to give myself just a breather for a moment, and we will get ready in just a few moments' time.
30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
Well then, here we go for the formation lap here for the first race of the season at Monza. Mikey Keating is back in the pit lane. We're not quite sure why that is the case, but it looks like he's going to be going for a pit lane start. Mikey was due to start on row 12 in 23rd place, but unfortunately that's not the case, so he's going to be starting from pit lane by the seams of it.
Green light, give it all you got.
And now there we go. That's the start of the race, ladies and gentlemen. Off we go, scrambling towards turn one. No formation lap at all. Toby leading the way then as they go towards that first corner. It's going to be really, really difficult to spot the braking zone. There's so many cars all over the circuit as they barrel into that first corner. Toby leads the way. Then we've got the BMW and Packham side by side. Chapman has to cut over to the grass. Danny Zoutenbayer's up the curb. Everyone has to just Constantina up a little bit. But Toby's had a great start. That's exactly what he would have wanted. Let's just cut back and go through these camera angles. So it's Fielden, then it's Packham, Chapman, Zolden, putting the pressure on the back of the Lamborghini. Rover Rakatamanga is there in 6th. It's Biro there in 7th place. Rakatamanga actually in 8th position. Whoa! That's Steve Hall facing the wrong way before we even got to the corner. And that is damage and contact, unfortunately, for the Ferrari. And the Season 8 champion is in the wars already. You've got Van Buren sliding off the road at Lesmo 1 as Hall tries to go back up the inside. It's free wide going into Lesmo 2. That's only going to end in disaster. And Rakatamanga is going to go off the road at Lesmo 2. So that guy, the Frenchman, is going to fall down the field. Wells, Byford, Roux all go past him. And I think Barlow's going to go through as well. What a disaster that is for the Frenchman. He drops from 6th to 18th. We don't really know what happened there. Oh, Byford Roux's off the road. Can he keep it out of the wall? Just about. Looks like he put a wheel on the grass. He's going to have to try and rejoin. Of course, my headset decides to cut out at that moment in time. That's Alfie Pryor up there. Oh, that's going to be an accident, and that is another car in the wall with him. It looks like Matt Phillips is in the wall, and that's an absolute disaster. Pryor was side by side looking for an overtake, lost the back end, and they both spit themselves into the barrier. Jeffrey Van Buren putting the pressure on the back of Byford Roux for 19th place. Byford Roux staying in front at the moment. And that's Joe Warner running in 18th place. So he's got himself inside the top 20. Fielden's putting a little bit of pressure now back on Toby. Hasn't been able to pull away as he did sometimes last season. Packham's there in 3rd, but Zorden doing a great job. The 666 of Ballas Zorden right on the rear spoiler of the number 78 of Packham. Chapman's in 5th place after his excursion at the start. Biro in 6th. Then it's Laszlo. That is Mark in 7th. Gap back to Danny Zoutenbayer in 8th place. He's got a train of cars. Whiting, Jarram, Penders, Vanderhut, Hall, Harding, Wells, Rakatamanga, all behind him at the moment. That's a lot of cars behind the 101 Mercedes. Absolutely frenetic. Then it's Barlow. He's a little bit back on his own, but that's not a bad place to be. You want to just get settled into this first race. Then it's Warner. Byford Roux was side by side with Van Buren, but he's now trying to defend from Tony Manley, who stays in front. Oh, and off the road. Oh, there's a couple of cars off the road all in one go there. I'm going to say that's Steve Hall who's gone off. Yeah, that's a nightmare. So what a disaster. A terrible return to the championship for Steve Hall. That is not going to bode well in the slightest. And where's our race leader gone? Because Will Fielden is in the lead, but what happened to Hartle Toby? The man who is leading the race after 2 laps is off the road and is tumbled down the order. Goodness me, what an absolutely frenetic opening 4 and a bit minutes this has been. It's been unbelievably tricky to try and keep on top of all of this action. I can see a comment from Sebastian Goho Renault. Good to see you, bud. Shame you can't race tonight. It would have been great to have you with us because I know you are a race winning contender, especially tonight. You would have loved all of that action that's going on, but we're just trying at the moment to follow some of the on-track action. It is proving to be rivetingly difficult as the Audi of Toby, who's clearly hit the wall. You can see there's damage to the front bonnet and bumper on that R8, and unfortunately he's going to carry that through the race. Let's hope it's not too bad for him, but right now it's not going to be doing him any favours as we ride on board with Bent Biro. We cut back to the garage. I'm trying to keep in touch with all of the battles that are going on circuit at the moment. Is really, really challenging. Is that Dennis Penders? Yeah, it is, going alongside Rich Jarram. I think Rich Jarram's had a wobble out of Ascari, and he's just lost a spot to the Belgian, who puts himself inside the top 10. This is what I say about Dennis Penders every single year, ladies and gentlemen. The Belgian knows how to race, doesn't get into nonsense, and quietly picks his way through the field. If you want to learn how to be a good driver, go and watch this guy. He knows exactly what he's doing. He just gets on with it. Nothing flashy. He just knows how to race. Jarram's going to overcook it. Is he into turn 1? He just about got it stopped before the corner. And that's good race awareness from Penders. He saw it coming, didn't turn in too early, avoided an accident. Great driving that from the pair of them, managing to save it. And we've got Jordan Harding in front of us here, so that's a place that has changed round. The Honda now into 11th position if the timing tower updates in the way that I expect it to. And yes, it does. There you go. Just to confirm, as Van der Waal just struggling to get the car stopped into... Whoa, as Harding almost loses it. So we had one driver struggling to break into the chicane and then one driver struggling to put the power down out of it. Crikey. That is absolutely brilliant, this, at the moment. Biro, though, on the back of Laszlo. The number 96 versus the number 8. Both in white cars. Both almost running a alternative white and gold colour scheme, almost complementing one another. Well, that's a nice line, that, from Biro into the next corners. One of the drivers just clears their stop and go penalty, which is Alfie Pryor, unfortunately. So that's going to drop him quite far back down the field, going down through the gears into the final corner here at Parabolica. There's a number of other cars in the pit as well. Steve Hall is one of those drivers. We'll have to find out what happened to him at the first chicane, well, rather the lap 1 second chicane incident, because he was going backwards into that corner, and that is not certainly the ideal line through there. Will Fielden, what a debut this is at the moment. We've had a couple of race debutant winners over the past few seasons. Sebastian Berger was one of those. Goho Renault, who's in the comments at the moment, he was one of those as well. So can we have another one? Will Fielden at the moment in the M4, to be honest with you, one of only 2 drivers in the field driving the M4 this season. Doing a great job at the moment. 3.5 seconds clear of Packham, who's now got Chapman, and Zorden, who's having a good debut as well, in 4th position. That's going brilliantly well for him. Biro is 5th. He's still in front of Laszlo. Those two having a really private fight. Toby's in 7th. He's doing a solid enough job. Zoutenbayer in 8th place. Penders in 9th. And Rich Jarram has recalibrated himself after that little issue that he had. He's remained in the top 10 I haven't seen Rich Jarram score a top 10 result, and it would be a great achievement if he could, but this is really, the opening 10 minutes has been fantastic. Michael van der Waal is in a battle with Jordan Harding, who wants to get on by, but I wonder if Harding is just trying to work out the strengths and weaknesses of that NSX. It's not a, like I said before, it's not a car we see very often. Last driver we saw to use that machine was Ross Harris a couple of seasons ago, and he didn't use it for very long. So who knows what the calibrations need to be going on within that car. Jordan will be working that out as he goes along. He's got John Wells right with him, who's seemingly doing a solid job in the R8. Rakatamanga, after his issue earlier, is in 14th place, and Tom Barlow has latched onto the back of that group. So that's a really good opening 10 minutes for not Gary. Van Buren is running in 16th place. Then it's Manley and Howard Dunn. Joe Warner is part of a freeway. Not the first time we've talked about that this season, but running right now in 19th place. Simon Whiting dropped down the field. Don't know if he got involved in the fracas earlier on, but clearly some damage on the front of that McLaren, so he's running in 20th position. Then you've got in the 222 Kyle Smith, the Canadian, in 21st. He's got Liam Watkinson just behind him. Mikey Keaton has recirculated, got back out on track after his pit lane start. Hasn't quite latched onto the back of the group, but he's not far away from them. And then you've got the other drivers who've made a pit stop. Steve Hall, Byford Rue, Matt Phillips and Alfie Pryor. Those guys circulating in their own race at the moment. But Will Fielding, 3.6 to the good. Zorden onto the back, Ballas Zorden onto the back of Chapman, still hounding and harassing him. Same with Biro and Laszlo. I feel like every time I look at these two, that's close. That's very close between the two. They're side by side. It's going to be on the outside line as Biro towards the next corner at Parabolica. Riding on board with the Ferrari. He's going to look to the inside. Bit of lag spike there, and he's going to send it down the inside at the Parabolica, and it looks like he's got through. That's a move that he's been working on for the last 5 minutes, and he fires it past the number 8 McLaren. Now, does the Ferrari have the straight line speed to maintain that position, or will Laszlo try and make a move down the inside at turn 1? You can see the McLaren moving alongside. He's in the rear left there, and now he goes and throws it down the inside. Can he get it stopped before turn 1? He can, and Laszlo retains the top 5 position. That's a good fight between these two, really enjoying it. The two debutants right now fighting for that last spot in the top 5, but those two have fought so much that they are now 5 seconds away from the next trio up the road. So it's going to take a bit of working out to see whether they can catch up to the top 2, 3 and 4 place drivers. Toby is shadowing them as well despite his damage. Wonder if he will get that fixed. And there's Danny Zoutenbayer as well in the background. Don't forget, season 10 champion Danny Zoutenbayer was leading season 11 until he unfortunately was unable to participate in any more events for the rest of the season 11, and sadly fell away in the championship, but inevitably would have been one of the big protagonists. Steve Hall still trying to figure everything out. He's got Simon Whiting lapping him at the minute, or trying to lap him. Smith there in 20th place. Penders he's on his own, doing a great job. He's pulled away from Van der Waal, but he's not far away from the rest of the group. And I've noticed that Rich Jarram has dropped a couple of places. He was in 10th place. I've just seen him in the background in the AMR V8. So Rich Jarram has dropped to 12th position in the 878 Aston Martin. Stop and go penalty. Oh, that is annoying. The 187 has just picked that up. And I think I know, yeah, Van Buren, season 11 runner-up, he's had a stop go, and that's for speeding in the pit lane. So sadly for the Dutchman, that is going to put him outside of the top 20 at best, I should say. Tom Barlow, he's right there. Rich Jarram's actually gone into the pit, so I wonder if he picked up damage somewhere. I have to find out whether that is the case. Alfie Pryor running at the moment in 27th position. He is a lap down. He's in the midst of the traffic, but he will do well to, one, keep up with Van Buren, who's just in front of him, but two, to see what his pace is like compared to the front-running drivers who are around him at the moment. Ooh, that's a little bit wide out of Lesmo too. But Zorden still trying to fight with Chapman. He's just about latched on at the moment. Biro, oh, is that Hartle Toby having a big moment? It definitely was. But thanks to the unique way that this game works with its timing tower, we couldn't see. However, he got through, and Laszlo's going back down the inside. So Biro had got past him, and Laszlo re-overtakes him. This is a brilliant fight. They're both running white and gold. I don't know if they know one another, but they seem to have some really good racing respect. And Laszlo is in front of Biro at the moment as we get some weird flickering going on. A quarter of the race down. John Wells has gone round, and I think, no, he hasn't gone round actually. It was the colour update. John Wells went off the road at Ascari, but it was also Alfie Pryor who'd spun round at Ascari. A couple of drivers in the pits, of course, from those that had issues earlier on. Matt Phillips there in 26th position. But it's Will Fielding at the front, and he's absolutely flying at the moment. Chapman is in front of Packham now, so with all the fighting that's going on, because there's so many drivers, it is actually incredibly hard to stay on top of every single battle that is going on circuit. But Chapman has overtaken Packham, but that gap and that fight that they've had has swelled to 6 seconds. Bas Zorden still doing a great job. Laszlo in 5th, and I think Biro's had a mistake because he's behind Hartle Toby. And that great fight between the McLaren and the Ferrari on pause for the moment in time. But Toby is really pushing. He's trying his utmost. You can see the way he's pushing that R8. He's off the track again at Lesmo 2. Zoutenbaugh is settling into this race quite nicely. Penders is there in 9th. He did get away from Van der Waal, but that's no longer the case. He's within a second. Jordan Harding there in 11th place. John Wells a little bit further back. Rover Rakatamanga in 13th position. Then it's Howard Dunn. Tom Barlow he was in 15th place. Yes, he is still. That was Alfie Pryor going past. Then it's Tony Manley, who is in 16th position. You've got a bunch of lap cars between them. Simon Whiting is right there as well. And Joe Warner's doing a great job at the minute. Liam Watkinson 19th, and hello, Mikey Keating has got himself a rival on track to try and fight with. And he's inside the top 20. Someone take a picture. What a time to be alive. Mikey Keating in the top 20. But Will Fielding is the man on a mission. I have to say, it's a very nice livery, actually, that he's running, if I'm being completely honest with you all. I do like a good livery, I won't lie. I do make a mention of it. Chappers and Packham, which sounds a bit like an alternative retro band from the 1980s. Chappers and Packham. Almost as if they did alt synth. But those two running in 2nd and 3rd. Zorden there in 4th. Laszlo is now got a bit of time. Biro has got in front of Toby, who's still fighting that position into the chicane. But Biro, whoa, that was a bit too much oversteer than he would have been comfortable with. He wouldn't have liked that, Biro, but he's got in front of Toby, and there's a big Mercedes lurking in the background, now ready. Oh, those two went so wide. Look how wide they went at the Exeter Lesmo 1. Crikey. Just about keeping it on the road, but Danny Zoutenbaugh now is a part of that fight. That's a trio right there. See if we can get on board with the Mercedes. Now that Mercedes should, in theory, be the fastest car in a straight line out of these 3 competitors. It all comes down to the exit that he will get coming out of Parabolica. But the Dutchman, look at this, he's really closing. That Audi's got some damage, and sure enough, Toby's trying to squeeze, but Zoutenbaugh is going to try and send it all the way around the outside at the final corner, but he's going to run deep, and the Mercedes just going a little bit wide, but he's got another opportunity. It's still a decent exit out of Parabolica at turn 11 as we move on to the 10th lap of the race. The Mercedes drawing ever closer to the 208 in front of us. Toby goes late to the outside of turn 1 and Zoutenbayer has to brake, although where is Toby going with that braking performance? He braked so late he ended up in the other half of Italy. He went to Milan by that braking performance. Crikey, that was some braking stopping power on the R8 there, especially compared to the Mercedes. So Zoutenbayer is going to have to factor that in if he wants to get through. He wants to try and do it as early in the straight as possible, because it seems like Toby's very comfortable on the brakes. Backham still running in third. Mikey's in front of Liam Watkinson. We missed the overtake, but well done, Mikey. He moves himself up. Rover Rakatamanga in the pits. So that's quite early, but he did have damage from the incident he was involved in earlier. So I wonder if he's trying to fix it now, get a bit of an undercut on the drivers around him as Liam Watkinson has to cut across the escape road. We'll just see the Porsche re-emerge. There he is. No harm done. There is the aforementioned Frenchman in the pits. Just right on board with Hartle Toby a moment. Yeah, you can see the bonnet still flapping up in front of us. Oh, Bent Biro, that was wide out of Ascari. We're just going to follow the rear view cameras. You see the Mercedes start to increase and close, well, increase speed and close that distance. But it looks like Zoutenbayer's got a lot of understeer at that final corner. Of course, it's a new car, it's a new team for the Dutchman. But look at this, look at the closing speed. Here we go. Toby carrying that damage. I don't think Zoutenbayer's going to be close enough, but you can see the impact it's having for the German. He can't really, he's fighting with one arm tied behind his back. We've got a car off the road. That's Carl Smith out of Ascari. But Toby just at the moment hanging on to a spot in 7th place. There's Byford Roux, he's pitted. Van der Waal inside the top 10. Has pulled away from Harding but hasn't managed to really make an impression on Penders in front of us. Biro just in front of the squabbling Toby and Zoutenbayer. Steve Hall, he's made a pit stop, a very early one. Still one of the, could be the defining image of the season, that being on board with somebody and then seeing him going backwards into turn 4. We will find out later on what happened to him. Tom Barlow now running quite a solitary race. He's 6 seconds in front of Tony Manley but 6 seconds behind Howard Dunn. So the Red Bull liveried 296 GT3, solid debut so far. He has got a bit of damage on the front of that Ferrari, so I wonder if he's had a bit of a nose into the back of somebody. He wasn't far away from Howard Dunn earlier, but it's something just to be aware of. Whether that'll get fixed at the pit stop, we'll wait to see. Zorden just shadowing the back now of Chappers and Packham, who will be, I'm assuming, releasing their debut single next week called I Don't Know What I'm Doing. Those two in 3rd and 4th at the minute. Will Fielding, we don't want to say too much about him. Anybody who knows my commentary, I typically do have a horrible curse on a number of drivers. But right now, the fact of the matter is Fielding is leading the way. That gap hasn't changed since Chapman moved into 2nd place. Oh, in fact, it might do now because Chapper's got that wrong in the background. He went over the inside of the curb. I don't think he's got into trouble for it, but he'll have got a warning flag for that from the race director. Chapman in the background just skipping across the curb. Rich Jarram, he had an early pit stop, which I'm going to assume was to fix damage, but he's in the top 20. And he's doing a solid job at the minute. He's got Jeffrey Van Buren in front of him on circuit, but not in the overall standings. Van Buren a lap down. Oh, Jordan Harden's facing the wrong way. Jordan's lost it at Lesmo 1. And the number 16 turns the car round. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, he's been overtaken by Tom Barlow as well. So Harding has lost that, unfortunately, all by himself. And unfortunately, that has just dropped him a couple of places and a bit of time away from the drivers he was fighting, because he would have been looking at John Wells, etc. in front of those guys. But alas, that's no longer the case. We have lost a driver from the session. I'll have to have a look at who that was. But Howard Dunn running in 11th place. Another solid drive from him. Another driver who also has damage in this race. And we've got a yellow flag out there. We've got Dennis Penders. Rather, no, it's Jeffrey Van Buren. And we've got... I'm just trying to see who that is, actually. Because the two numbers were interlined with it. It's Liam Watkinson who has gone round with Van Buren. So not quite sure what had gone on there. But they were both stopped at the same place. They both had the 707 all interlapped with one another. That's why I couldn't work it out. But unfortunately, Van Buren's first race in the McLaren and his new adventure just not going to plan. Michael van der Waal has got past Dennis Penders. The two Ferraris in the pack. Penders looking at the inside at Lesmo 1, but he's sensible. And John Wells inside the top 10. What a comeback this is. Of course, as I say that, John Wells almost loses the back of it, so let's not say any more about that situation. There's Harding in 11th. We've had a couple of drivers pit, so Howard Dunn has pitted, and he's going to come out of the pits now. He's just going to make sure when he fires it up to speed, he doesn't trip the pit limiter. Off he goes. He should be all right. Yes, he's fine. But Rich Jarram comes out in front of Howard Dunn. That's just showing you how impressive this run has been by Rich thus far. Really pleasing to see. Rakatamanga's in 20th position. Everyone now all starting to filter through. Pit stops are going to be the aim of the game here in terms of maybe trying to do an undercut. Pender's probably in the best position of everybody to do an undercut. Perhaps Packham could as well. But I think in truth, Packham and Chapman will be... Correction, let me say their band name. Chappers and Packham. They'll be working together. Look, he's done it again, Chapman, over the same curve. That's the second time he's done that now. And I'm just wondering whether... Is he having issue with the brakes, maybe? Because that's uncharacteristic from him. And Packham is right on the rear diffuser now of the Aston Martin. We'll just get an internal camera shot so we can see that fight firsthand. Oh, the Lamborghini's camera angle is absolutely awful. Let's try and get something a little bit better than that. Apologies for the various circumventions there going on. That's a bit better. But right at the minute, Packham is putting the pressure on Chapman, who just... I don't know, he was right with Fielding earlier on. The gap wasn't changing, but it's braked a little bit earlier for that corner. I'm just wondering if there's a bit of brake fade going on, or if it's just a case of uncharacteristic errors. Chapman's now going to try and get past, I'm going to say that's Byford Rue in front of us. And I'm fairly certain it was. So he goes past the Audi. Yeah, Packham looking very confident on the brakes. That's very good for him at the moment. Ballas Sorden still there in 4th position. As the Audi fires himself out of the way. Bensbiro is 5th. Zaltenbayer in 6th position. More pit stops have come along. Tom Barlow being one of the... In fact, Tom Barlow's done very well. If he is in 18th place... Oh, as he gets fired on by... I think I'm right in saying that's Bensbiro who's just gone past him. Yes, it is. So Tom Barlow obviously making that pit stop. It's not too far away from Rover Rakatamanga. Oh, Biro going very wide, and he's probably balked Barlow behind him. Actually, he's probably trying to get on with his own race. And there's a couple of more drivers in the pits now. Hartle Toby and Dennis Penders. I said Penders might be one to look at for doing the undercut. And away he goes in the Ferrari. Where's Hartle Toby? He's coming out of the pits. See if we can get on external shot of the German. Yeah, it was again. Yeah, Tony Manley now skipping the chicane. The Aston Martins are struggling with the second chicane, I've noticed. And I want to just make a point about Simon Whiting. He had a bit of a poor start. Not quite sure what happened to him, but he has quietly moved his way back through the field in the number 19. Yes, there's damage to the front end of the car, which is probably impacting him. Just outside the top 10 at the minute. Tony Manley, the next car in front of him. Just trying to see where Toby is. There he is, coming towards the second chicane. Ooh, as he fires the car on through. That looks like he's got the damage fixed. Yeah, he definitely has done. I know it doesn't look like it, ladies and gentlemen, but from the visual element, but it does definitely seem like he's really pushing that car now. And Zoutenbayer and Van der Waal responding to the undercuts shown by Toby and Penders. So these guys responding to the races around them. Hartle Toby, the first of the drivers who has pitted. Mikey Keating doing a solid job. He's not far away from Joe Warner, who is doing a great... This is a really good effort from Joe Warner. In 12th place. Yes, there are cars, admittedly, who have made a pit stop. But he's not put a foot wrong. So far, is what I'm going to say. Because I don't want to jinx him. But great effort from Joe as we move past the half distance mark in the race. As the Mercedes gets down through the gears. I think that's Simon Whiting, yeah. Just, he's having a fight, Simon, with Steve Hall. These two know each other from past seasons. They know their racecraft. They know how well they drive. But they're not fighting over first position like they were back in Season 8 and Season 9. Right now, they're fighting not even on the same lap. Steve's trying to unlap himself currently. But the race has just settled down just a little bit. Closest fight at the moment on circuit, we don't quite yet know. But Zoutenbayer, is he in front of Toby? Yeah. No, he's not. So Zoutenbayer has come out behind Hartle Toby. So that says to me that, stone my correction from earlier on, Hartle Toby did not fix his damage. Or if he did, he fixed maybe the top end speed, I guess. But Toby has come out quite comfortably in front of Danny Zoutenbayer. He's at least a Lesmo behind. There you go, the Audi squeezing through the corner. Chapman's pitted, as has Biro. Admittedly for Bentz, he was kind of on his own at that point. But for Chappers, that's significant. Can he make an impression on Will Fielding now? Wells is in 6th position. Harding's in 7th after his earlier spin. Tony Manley now in the pits, as is Simon Whiting. We'll just get a shake through of the order. So Toby is in 12th. And there we go. So Hartle Toby is in 12th place. Chapman is out of the pits. So we'll see what his efforts can be over the next couple of minutes. But it'll have put Packham, Zord and Fielding on notice about what the strategy is from here on in. Zoutenbayer is there in 13th. Van der Waal is just in front of Jarram. But they both have, well, they've got blue flags to try and overtake Liam Watkinson, who's moved right out of the way. And Jarram has got in front of Penders as well. So that really early pit stop has paid dividends for the AMR V8. This is absolutely his best showing I've ever seen in ACC so far. Let's hope he can keep it up. Howard Dunn is there. Then it's Rover Rakatamanga. It's Tom Barlow, Steve Hall, Liam Watkinson, Matt Phillips, Byford Rue, Mark Laszlo and Jeffrey Van Buren. It looks as if, sadly, we have lost Alfie Pryor. I think we've also lost Kyle Smith from the race. So those are the two retirements, and the top three are all in the pits. And that's going to put John Wells in the lead. Well, John does like a different strategy. Oh, Joe's just going to get out of the way. Yeah, Wells had to try and drive around him there. Fielding's coming out of the pits now. Gets up to speed, off he goes. Chapman's coming out of Parabolica. There's Packham. That's the real fight we're interested in. Zorden also coming out of the pits, but Packham now fires off the court out of the pit lane. He's going to come out in front of Packham here. In front of Chappers, I should say, rather. Packers, Chappers, sounds almost very similar, but Chapman is behind the Lamborghini, and I wonder if Packham decided not to take on any extra tyres. That's what I can think. That's what I'm assuming. Ballas Zorden as well is in 5th position. He's come out a little bit further back from those two, but I don't think you can criticise his drive so far. It has been very, very positive. So it says 5th, it's now updated itself, he's in 6th position. Mikey Keaton running in the top 7. I'm almost stunned into silence by that. He's still going to make a pit stop. He's one of only 3 drivers yet to pit in this race, but great effort from Mikey after that pit lane start. He is going to drop down. I'm going to assume he's going to drop down to somewhere where Steve Hall is in 20th place, is what I'm going to presume. But nevertheless, he'll be having a good time running in the single digit figures. John Wells, though, he carries on. But Rich Jeremy's just been overtaken by Dennis Penders. And this is the closest fight on circuit at the minute. So let's see if we can get on board with one of these 3. Oh, I was going to say that's in the background. Yeah, I was fairly certain that was Matt Phillips going off the road. Harding carries on. John Wells carries on. Danny's out and by now in 9th place and kind of on his own, really. He does have Bent Spiro less than 5 seconds behind. And into the pits comes Mikey Keaton. So his time in the top 10 was a nice cameo from him. He will fall down the order. He's got it stopped. He's just got to make sure he doesn't speed in the pit lane on the way out. What I'm trying to do is steadily get ourselves over to the group here. So Van der Waal and Penders, you can see in the rear view camera, Penders in the Ferrari closing all the ever more down. Van der Waal moves to the inside. Penders going to look to the outside. We look at that little indicator. Can we see the red Ferrari go through? They're going to make it to the corner, are they? Just about. And Van der Waal hangs on, but that's not the best of exits. And look at this. On the grass was Van der Waal then, trying to protect that position and the inside line. He doesn't want to let Penders through at Curva Grande. And he moves over to the other side. He's just frustrating Penders at the moment. It does look like Penders has a little bit more speed right now, but he clamps the curb, and that puts him now under pressure from Jaron behind. See if we can... There we go. That's the driver view we want. So Van der Waal, Penders and Jaron all fighting for that lost spot in the top 10 as it stands. Don't forget we still have Jordan Harding and, well, I was going to say John Wells to pit, but John Wells has just boxed now, so it's Jordan Harding who leads the race, yet to make a pit stop. Oh, it was a bit of an awkward line there. You could see the car did not enjoy bouncing off the limiter, and Rich Jaron is looking for an opportunity to try and fire it down the inside. Any option he gets, he'll give it. The AMR V8 is... That's a good line from actually from the 878. So 2 of these drivers are going to reappear in the top 10 now, because John Wells, he's just coming out of the pits. This is going to be very close, but I think they're both all going to get past him. Yes, they do. But this is now not a trio fight, it's a quartet, because John Wells has decided he wants to join the party. And if they have an accident, Howard Dunn's only in the background. He can also be involved in the fight as well if they start fighting, for sure. Well, 21 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. 4 cars in shot, all fighting to get inside the top 10 to start off a great spring pod for the championship. I've never seen, as I said before, Rich Jarram finish inside the top 10. Well, look at it right now. He's 1 spot away. He is pushing. But that's got to be the key steps for him now moving forward for Rich, is that he can't overdrive the car. If he does, he isn't going to get that top 10 spot. I also noted in the background, Howard Dunn's closed the gap. Oh, that's Van der Waal off the road. Adascari, he's just kept it in a straight line. Penders, can he find a way through? He's going to try it for the inside at Parabolica. He should have the overspeed. And the 296s are going to swap places. And he's just going to be able to move in front of his Ferrari stablemate. Penders is in to 9th position. He's going to run a touch deep though. And now you're looking at Jarram and Van der Waal behind us. They are both going to overtake Jordan Harding. So these three are 8th, 9th and 10th as it stands. That's going to put Will Fielding back in the lead, but Van der Waal, oh, he's had to open the door for Rich Jarram, and that's Penders going too deep into turn 1. He's gone off the road. He's going to have to slow down. He's going to have to try and let a natural gap come back, but if he slowed down too much, Van der Waal's going to go around the outside. He's just about got enough overspeed, and the Ferrari goes through. Can Rich Jarram find a way through as well? He's going to be there on the outside line into turn number 4. They've just about survived together. Van der Waal noticed that happening as it transpired and just about hangs on, but now he's going to have to defend the inside line at Lensmo 1. Oh, he's gone on the curb. He lost the back end, and Penders is just going to undercut him, and straight through he goes. Belgian moves into 8th place, and look at Howard Dunn. He's right there. He was 5.5 seconds behind a lap ago. It's now 2.3. Howard Dunn can smell blood. And we're going to have a quintet fighting over 8th place. This is brilliantly exciting now. But Penders is at the front of that queue. See if we can just cut between the drivers, see what's going on. Oh no, Rich Jarram's gone off the road. Oh, what a disaster. I think he was down the inside. I think they were side by side together, and that is a massive shame. And Rich Jarram's chances of a top 10 position slide off the road with him. It was such a good race as well. That is I am truly disappointed about that. That was shaping up to be a wonderful fight, but inevitably, when so many people get together, there's always going to be some form of incident. So Howard Dunn's got past John Wells, who's just reappeared at turn 1, but the Audi braked a little bit too late. So what that does, it reshuffles everything. So Dennis Penders has once again done what he does normally. Put himself in a good position. He's in 8th place. He's 2.5 seconds clear now of this fight. So the quintet has now become a trio with the Dutchman of Van der Waal, Dunn and Wells all fighting over 9th position, all taking turns. Rakatamanga's in 12th place. Don't rule out Rakatamanga catching those 3 in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. He did qualify in the top 6, let's not forget. He's had a recovery drive. Then it's Jordan Harding, who's also having his own recovery drive. Manley's 14th, Whiting is 15th, Tom Barlow is 16th. The recovering Rich Jarram is now in 17th. Then it's Mikey Keating in 18th place. He's got in front of Joe Warner, which is a turn up for the books actually for Mike. And then Steve Hall rounds out the top 20 after his earlier shenanigans. But this is the closest fight. I say it's the closest fight. It's not much of a fight right now. Rich It's Jaron just putting a lap on Joe Warner. Let's see how Fielding navigates these next couple of corners. I'll keep an eye on that fight with Penders and co. At the moment it looks quite close between Howard Dunn and Van der Waal, but it's not close enough for an overtake down the main straight. They're now getting the blue flag, so that's Van Buren, Phillips and Keating. But we're watching at the minute Will Fielding 12 seconds clear of Stuart Packham, who's managed to keep Chappers behind him. Look at these two. Van Buren and Phillips are fighting so hard they can't see that they've got Mikey trying to unlap him, well, outlap them as well. And now, yeah, Fielding's on the lights, trying to get everybody to move out of the way. So what's going to happen here? They're too busy fighting. They're not going to notice. Mikey's trying to find a way through. Mikey's got it all wrong. And he takes out Matt Phillips. I'm going to be honest, that seemed a little bit unnecessary from Mikey, and well, that's going to be a steward's inquiry, I'm sure. Will Fielding, though, arguably was probably the one smiling as that happened, because he didn't have to worry about clearing any of them after that. But he does put a lap on Van Buren. Chappers is still within touching distance of Packham, but Packham's doing a really good job keeping him behind right now. Not under pressure at all as we move into the final quarter of the race. And Howard Dunn will be really thanking his lucky stars that he's found a way back into the top 10 after the issues he had at start, and less than half a second behind Van der Waal. Rakatamanga is catching these guys now, 4.5 seconds behind John Wells. If you are watching, and there's quite a few of you who have been jumping in and out of the session, actually it's really great to see. If you are watching, do comment who you think is, actually tell me who you think your driver of the day is in this race. You tell me, as Rakatamanga closes the gap to John Wells by 0.8 of a second and extends half a second on Jordan Harding in the Honda. There we go though, Howard Dunn now looking to try and make another move to increase his position within the top 10. Oh, he's looking at the inside. He's just putting the fear of God into Van der Waal, but he gets that wrong over the curb, and that is going to give Van der Waal a bit of a reprieve for the next couple of corners. But Dunn right now. Oh, I was going to say Dunn right now doing a really solid job, but we cut on board of him. And then suddenly it all goes a little bit wrong. There's Rakatamanga just lurking in the background. He's not far away. Has he got enough time? He's got enough time to catch John Wells. Whether he'll catch these two, it's 50-50 at the minute. Chapman's closed the gap on Packham in this last lap. That gap now less than a second. It was over that before. Down through the gears for the 111. Ooh, you can see the way that the car gets unsettled over the curbs. A little bit of a correction mid-corner from the AMR. And there's a blue flag for Matt Phillips just in front of us. The Canadian is going to have to get out of the way. Two Canadians who were racing tonight, himself and Kyle Smith. Sadly, Kyle retired from the race earlier. Still the blue flags fly, and Packham's probably going to get annoyed now that Phillips hasn't moved out of the way. And that's, look at this, that's not the best exit actually from Packham, and that's going to give an opportunity for Chapman to go through. But yeah, they're trying to figure out what to... Oh, Packham just a little bit unsure about what's going on here, and I think Phillips was just trying to stay to the left-hand side to get out of the way, and Packham has a little wobble on the exit of Parabolica. This is an opportunity for Chapman. Can he get close enough to fire one down the inside? He's closing that speed and that distance between himself and the Lambo in front of us To the outside line goes the AMR. The reigning champion trying to go past one of the former champions. In the braking zone they go. Packham on the inside as they turn into number 1, and Chapman goes through. Lovely overtake from the Aston Martin. Great move. He goes in front into second place, and Packham wasn't really much he could have done, but I'm sure he'd be a little bit frustrated about being held up by Matt Phillips there in the end. Again, I don't think Phillips really... Oh, Chapman almost got run into the back of by... Yeah, I thought that was the case. I thought Packham had gone off the road. I was just about to say, Chapman almost getting run into the back of by Packham, and yeah, there was the evidence, the Lamborghini going off the road. Gap between Van der Waal and Howard Dunn has stabilised in the last few laps. I'll tell you something though, Biro and Zoutenbayer, they have closed up to one another. Ooh, a little bit wide from the Ferrari, and that's going to bring Zoutenbayer into play here, kicking up the dust as he goes over the gravel there. A couple of other quite close-ish fights going on, but they're not quite close enough compared to these two fighting over 6th position at the minute. Chapman has overtaken Packham, but we're just going to keep an eye on this fight at the moment. So let's see if we can skip to the drivers. There we go, on board with Zoutenbayer. Again, down through the gears, a little bit of ABS helping the car not lock up. Of course, the Mercedes is a very heavy machine, and you just saw him wobbling through the corner. And that was a very close fight, but that has just stretched out in the last couple of 100 metres. So oversteer for Zoutenbayer. He's going to have to give himself a moment to recalibrate. Oh, it's a bit more of a recalibration maybe needed. That was wild from the Mercedes driver. And he's lost about 1 second and 3/10 to the car in front. So Zoutenbayer, he isn't going to make an impression on the Hungarian just yet. And that's something that we haven't... Oh, it's Packham right behind Chapman there as we go through the right-hander. So Liam Watkinson's off the road in front of us. That's an awkward place to turn around. He's just about got away with it. But Chapman hasn't pulled away in the way that I thought he was going to compared to Packham. The former champion is giving his good friend as good as he's got right now. Through Ascari they go. But the one issue that Packham is going to have is that the Lamborghini isn't going to be as fast in a straight line. It's got the braking performance. We saw that earlier in the race. But these two are, at the moment, no match for Will Fielden. The 22 on his way to a debut victory. He's 16 and a bit seconds clear of this fight for the podium. Look at the closing speed between the two is phenomenal under the braking zone there. Absolutely phenomenal watching them. Packham's just closing up to the back of Chappers. They're fighting for leadership of the band. Into the chicane they go. Oh, that's a little wide from Chappers, but he's going to get away with it. And very briefly, just cut away just to see where Howard Dunn is. I think he's got past Van der Waal. Yes, he has. I thought there was something had gone on the track map, and sure enough, it has happened. And as that has happened, Rover Rakatamanga has closed that gap up to John Wells. Ooh, into the braking zone. John just trying to hang on to a spot in the top 11. And that was actually a really good line out of the second corner there. So well done to the Audi. Look at that, it's fired off the corner. So I don't know if Rakatamanga was just a little bit hesitant there. Mikey Keating as well, he's under pressure from Steve Hall. That gap was a second. Right on board with the number 5 Ferrari, season 8 champion here. Haven't seen Steve for quite a while. He's got it all wrong, as is Mikey. Can Mikey keep it in a straight line? There's going to be an accident, is there? Oh, Steve Hall. How have you managed to hold that? That is unbelievable. I was expecting an enormous accident, but somehow the pair of them have not come to blows. Steve Hall gains a position in a way he wouldn't have expected, and he moves into 19th place. So that was one fight. Glad we caught that. Wells has still got Rakatamanga. I know that Packham and Chappers are still fighting, but there is a trio fight going on here, because you've got John Wells there, and look in the wing mirror, just in the top right corner, there is Harding. So this is a trio now. Oh, you can see the Lamborghini squirreling all over the place, and Harding's got the undercut, I think, and Wells is going to move to the inside line. That's going to give Harding the slipstream towards turn 1, but then Wells naturally goes back towards the racing line, and now Rover is going to have the little bit less drag. A battle on the brakes between the two. Harding down the inside, Rakatamanga trying to hang around the outside, on the inside for the next corner, and just about retains the position. We're going to have to go back and forth, I think, as Packham now is all over once again the rear spoiler of Chappers. Got quite a good slipstream here towards Parabolica. Oh, Chapman struggling a little bit on the exit of that corner. And is he going to have a chance? This is the closest I've seen Packham all the way through this race since they swapped positions. He moves to the outside line. He moves out of the slipstream. Then looks to cut, trying to inside. He's close, but he's not quite close enough to make that overtake. So Packham will have to stay there for now. Howard Dunn's also closed up to the back of Dennis Penders, who has a big wobble out of the corner at Ascari. I'm doing my absolute best to get the right angle for this, because it's every car's slightly different. So there's Howard Dunn. Ooh, that's them lapping Tom Barlow. But Penders looks like he's struggling with the tyres a little bit. He's just having a few wiggles, and Howard Dunn will not need a second invitation to go past this 296 GT3 in front of us. Goes to the inside, but Dunn deciding not to follow the slipstream actually, and settles back in. I wonder if he's waiting for the opportune moment. Rakatamanga's there. Harding's dropped back a little bit, considering he's not driven this car. I think he's doing a solid job in 13th. Packham is about as close as he possibly can be, really, as they fly over the curb. And you can see the AMR, oh, it's just struggling for grip. And I saw at the end of the stint that Chappers before was struggling with tyres and brakes, and I wonder if that's just rearing its head again. Have to wait and see. Rich Jarram is right with Tom Barlow. What could have been for Rich? Still, it's encouraging for the season ahead. It has to be noted. We keep on board with as much action as we possibly can. Less than 2.5 minutes to go. This race has blown by tonight at Monza. Penders still holding on to 8th position. Van der Waal in 10th. It looks like he's going to stay there. And Rakatank is still on the rear bumper of John Wells. Best drive from John Wells I've seen in a while, actually. I know he had his issues last season, but I think he's managed to get himself and his rig all sorted again. Got himself healthy, got himself fit, ready for season 12, as Rakatamanga's just struggling with the wash that's coming off the back of the car. I think Mikey's gone round, Mikey Keating at turn 2. Yeah, he's just getting it pointed in a straight line. Steve Hall actually has lost time to Mikey, so not sure quite what's gone on there. Packham closing in the braking zone. But again, can't find his way through. There's a car off the road, and that's Rich Chatham, sadly. And I laugh slightly only because he was right on the back of another car then. And we go on to the final lap of the race. And Will Fielding has got 11 corners to navigate to become the first debut winner since Sebastian Gorho Renault last season. But who's going to win the fight for second between these two? The fight for 9th between these two? The fight for 11th between these two? We'll have to wait and see. Let's get the external cameras now. That's what we're going to use to go to the end of this race. But Packham gets past Byford Rue, who's just trying to move out of the way. Chapman's first opportunity to defend from Packham is going to be here at this chicane, at the Variante. But he's managed to do a solid job through the Della Roggia. Now it's going to be a question of, can he hang on going towards Ascari? It's not really a braking opportunity for an overtake, but you just never know with Packham. He might decide that 18 seconds clear of Zorden, why not give it a go? Fielded. Oh, for a moment, I was just... I jumped out of my skin because there was a yellow flag, but it was actually for Tom Barlow, who spun in front of Will Fielding. My goodness me, what a shock to have on the final lap of the race. But Packham cannot get through past Chapman. He's got one last opportunity going towards Parabolica, but I'm going to cut forward to the number 22. What a debut this has been from the M4 GT3 driver. Will Fielding, take a bow. It's a first win in ACC Race Nation for the M4 driver. Chapman is going to hold on to second place from Packham in the end. It was a really good fight between these two. In 4th place, we're going to have Balázs Zorden. He's had a really good race, actually. Couldn't quite live with the pace from the front 2 or 3 drivers, but still, really good performance. He'll take encouragement from that, will the 666. That's 4th place for him. Hartle Toby will recover to 5th position in the end, to find out whether he just dropped it all by himself in the opening stages of the race. Bence Biro, forget about Daniel Nagy, probably one of the best Hungarian GT3 drivers. Bence is the new guy on the block in 6th place. Danny Zoutenbayer, he'll be pleased with 7th in the end. That's a good result for him with a brand new car. Dennis Penders, I said before, if you want to know how to learn racecraft, watch him. He's the man to learn from. The Belgian comes home in 8th position to start off season 12. Michael van der Waal is 9th in the end. A good race from the Dutchman. John Wells is going to hang on from Jordan Harding in the end. So Rover Rakatamanga, something went wrong for him towards the end of that race. Tony Manley in 13th. What happened to Howard Dunn? Because he seemed... Well, to find out what happened to Howard Dunn, because he's quite some way away and he was in the top 10. So the Aston Martin, unfortunately, down to 14th, which means John Wells finishes inside the top 10. What a story that is. Simon Whiting is 15th. Joe Warner, great drive from Joe Warner to finish 16th. And that is that. So just to go through the rest of the field, Joe Warner 17th, Mikey Keating in the end 18th, he'll be pleased with that. Steve Hall 19th, Rich Jarram dropped to 20th at the end, something went wrong for him. Byford Rue in 21st with Jeffrey Van Buren, that was a rough start to the season for him in 22nd. Matt Phillips in 23rd with Liam Watkins in 24th. We lost Mark Laszlo, we lost of course as well Kyle Smith and Alfie Pryor, sadly earlier on in the racing. But that is the opening round of the championship here at ACC Race Nation. That was ballistic. Absolutely packed full of action, especially in the earlier stages of the race. My goodness me, those first few laps were frenetic. And it's a word I like to use because it's the only word that I can use, to be honest with you. But it has to be said, this is going to be really good. It's a really good performer for the rest of the season, how that is going to play out. But the drivers will be in action next week again for the second race at Brands Hatch, a much more different proposition than Monza, a much more patience needed circuit in these GT3 cars. But what a first race of the season. Congratulations once again to Will Fielding on his first race victory on debut here in ACC Race Nation, and a great job by Packham and Chappers to finish in third and second respectively. But from me, Jack Millington, your commentator for ACC Race Nation, thank you very much for watching. Whoever might be in the big wide world, have a good one, and we'll see you next week at Brands Hatch.